Ever since jsaux came out with those transparent back covers for the Steam Deck, I knew that I had to have one. Some of my favorite controllers, mainly the ones from my childhood N64, were transparent green. One was a darker green and the other one was a yellow color, I think. Anyway, transparent tech was always really cool back then and has recently been making a big resurgence in popularity over the last year or so. Because of the fancy back cover and shell swap options available now, I wanted to push my Steam Deck even further and customize it even more. I love my Steam Deck, and I wanted to make it a bit more unique to me, so that's what we're going to do in today's video. Just a disclaimer, some of these products were sent to me for free. No money was exchanged to make any content about them, and nobody got to see this video before it went live. Thank you to jsaux and minisopuru for sending some things over for me to take a look at. Also, if you're interested in picking up any of the products featured in this video, I will have all of the links below in the description. These links, if they are Amazon links, will be affiliate links, and if you choose to purchase anything with my links, you will be directly supporting the channel, which I really appreciate, so thank you. Let's talk about chargers. The 45-watt charger that comes with the deck, while being very capable, leaves a bit to be desired for a few reasons. One, the cable is fixed to the charger, making it not user replaceable. So that means if the cable ever breaks or if you wanted a longer cable, that's not an option. And two, the prongs don't fold up and it's a bit large for a 45-watt charger these days. This is where I think the Ugreen 65 Nexode GAN charger comes in to spice things up a bit. Its compact design is nicer to travel with, and its 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port make it even more convenient if you want to charge other devices at the same time, like your phone, watch, or tablet. I still use the stock charger in the bedroom, but this Ugreen charger works great paired with a longer cable out on the living room couch. They even make a larger 100-watt charger that I'd like to get in the future that is capable of charging even more devices at once with its 3 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port. Either way, I don't think you could go wrong with either of these, and it's my recommendation that this charger or something similar should be at the top of your list when considering some upgrades for your Steam Deck. Speaking of cables, since I now have a charger that has USB-C ports on it, and I'm planning to get more chargers like the one from Ugreen, I decided to pick up these cables from jsaux. I grabbed the 6-foot and 10-foot variants to make sure I had all of my USB-C cable devices covered. It's always nice to have more cables at your disposal than having too few cables, and these have been working great. The cables seem to be well made and I haven't had any issues with them. The housings and connectors on either end feel sturdy and the braided outer layer of the cable feels good. There are so many options for cables on Amazon, so I just went with the brand that I knew that offered a decent price. Here's what I would say is sort of the star of the show, the jsaux transparent back cover in this lovely green color. I'm pretty sure this is one of the least popular colors that they make, but I'm so glad that they sent one over to me before they stopped selling this specific color on Amazon. As of recording this video, the back cover is still available on Amazon in blue, purple, red, crystal, and brown. If you really like the green color that I have though, it looks like it's still available on their website. I wanted to customize my Steam Deck without having to do the entire shell swap. I know going through the whole process drastically changes the look, and honestly, I'm envious of those who have put in the effort to do it correctly. But man, am I really scared of messing things up. I've seen so many people mess up their screens or do irreversible damage to their Steam Deck, and I'm not wanting to go through any of that. Actually, I did break a Steam Deck, and it wasn't mine. So get subscribed to see that video when it comes out. I'm going to share my experience with processing an RMA. The plastics that are used for this back cover seem really nice. The texture on the back is this rough but very fine texture that feels really nice to run your hands over and hold in your hands for long periods of time. The back cover also comes with various other button replacements for the Steam Deck's customizable back buttons. I'm a big fan of how low profile the original buttons are, so I went with the equivalent of those. I know it's not different, but I didn't want to change them to something taller and risk it be too different or uncomfortable for me. And in all honesty, I don't use them very often, so changing them to something else was not high on my priority list. Another feature of this back cover is that it has a thermal pad that makes contact with the heat shield that covers the APU or processor and graphics chip and the SSD of the Steam Deck. I think the thought process here is that it will assist in helping cool the Steam Deck by absorbing some additional heat and sort of passively radiating the heat off of the back of the deck. After doing a little research and finding this video here, I was convinced that it's really not necessary. The Steam Deck's cooling solution is adequate for me, and I really didn't like how warm the back metal piece got when I was playing more demanding games. So I opted to take this creator's advice and remove the thermal pad outright. I still get the same great looks from the jsaux backplate, and I'm still very pleased with this product overall, and would recommend this if you're comfortable doing a mod like this. I should also mention that there is a newer version of this back cover by jsaux that features holes in the back cover over top of the fan, allowing the fan to directly draw in cool air. While I think this might be a good idea if cooling is a concern, I'm not really sold on this design. See, the way that the cooling system works on the Steam Deck is that it pulls air through the vents on the back and then pushes that air out of the top. By not pulling the air from below where the vent is located, I don't think that the SSD would get the airflow that Valve intended with their original design. That, and while potentially lowering temperatures for the APU, you're also increasing the noise, because the original and older jsaux back cover does a good job of covering up a bit of that sound. Keep that in mind when making your decision. But like I said, I'm very happy with what I have, and I'm very grateful for jsaux for sending this over for me to check out. I've covered several docks from various makers and Valve's own Steam Deck docking station. Overall, they've all seemed fine, but as I've admitted to in the past, I don't use them very often. I will typically have one on my desk hooked up to power, basically acting as a fancy charging station. Honestly, when I get emails from companies wanting to send me docks to take a look at, I typically ignore them now. However, minisopuru makes an interesting dock, and some of their other products, like the dock that they make for the iMac, seem really unique, so I thought I would take a look at what they had to offer. The minisopuru 6-in-1 Steam Deck dock, while being made of plastic, has some interesting features that I think stands out from the competition, and even the official dock. One thing that stood out to me was that the USB 3.0 ports are on the front of the dock. Other docks typically have their USB ports on the back. From a usability standpoint, I actually like that these ports are on the front. The other unique aspect of this dock is the on-off button for the HDMI port. I'm not sure what this is for, but I haven't seen it on any other dock, so I thought it was pretty interesting. Let me know down in the comments if you have a use for a feature like this. Other than these features, the rest of the dock is pretty straightforward. A USB-C PD port for up to 100 watts of power, a 1 gig Ethernet port, a single HDMI 2.0 port capable of 4K 60, and that on-off button that I mentioned. The attached USB-C cable that plugs into the Steam Deck is quite nice, and the angled USB-C connector at the end gives you a ton of clearance even if you have a case on your Steam Deck. Thanks to minisopuru for sending over your dock. The link in the description is one that will take you directly to their website instead of Amazon, as they don't currently have it listed there. All the same, I'm pleased with this device. And speaking of cases, I don't think it would be a complete Steam Deck accessories video without me mentioning the jsaux mod case. Yes, I finally have a case for my Steam Deck, and I'm really loving this offering from jsaux. I typically don't have a case on my deck, but I've mentioned in the past that I can't test certain docks with a case because I didn't have one. This case, while adding a bit more protection and grip to your Steam Deck, comes in at a surprisingly reasonable price at under $30. My favorite feature, I think, is the top part that clips over the entire front of the Steam Deck, protecting it from scratches and dust. I live in a pretty old farmhouse, and the dust accumulates pretty quickly. If I leave my Steam Deck on my nightstand for a couple of days, it can get pretty dusty. This helps alleviate that, and I really dig how it looks. Oh, and the case also comes with a couple of accessories as well, like this metal stand that slides on and off of the back, which allows you to prop the Steam Deck up, kind of like a Switch. Also included in the box is a cover for the Steam Deck docking station that allows you to dock the deck without taking your cover off, which is kind of nice. Also, this strap thingy that you can use to strap a battery bank or possibly a dongle to the back of your deck. If you're looking for a case, this is the one that you should get. Want to avoid getting stick drift? Well, this next product from GullyKit solves that issue with these cool Hall effect joystick replacements. I would say that this mod is quite easy to do, and at $30, it's not a bad deal to guarantee that you won't have stick drift. I didn't have any issues with my stock joysticks, but for the sake of the video and me building my ultimate Steam Deck, I thought it was worth doing, so I did. They work well, and if you do everything correctly, they shouldn't feel any different than the stock sticks. I think if I had to make a recommendation in regards to replacing your joysticks, I would say that you should just wait until you actually have issues with your current sticks. There's really no reason to replace them if your current ones are working just fine. But if you're like me and you're just curious, go ahead. Just make sure that the cable running from the touchpad on the head of the joystick doesn't interfere or get stuck anywhere, as you will not be able to move the joystick freely and it will be very obvious. Check that before you close things up and you'll be good to go. Storage is absolutely one of the biggest concerns, especially with the less expensive models of the Steam Deck. My personal Steam Deck is a 512GB model, but I really wanted more storage. I solved that with this 1TB SSD from Corsair. Meet the Corsair MP600. There's not much for me to really say about this other than I'm happy that I have twice the amount of storage now, plus my 512GB SD card that I already had. But really, I know that this is probably the most desired modification people will want to do with their decks. Be very careful when unscrewing the back cover of your Steam Deck. Make sure you are using a 0 or a 1 size Phillip head screwdriver. The screws are not the highest quality and they will very easily strip. Take the old SSD out, remove the heat shield, place the heat shield on the new SSD, install the new SSD and screw everything back together. Grab your flash drive with your Steam Deck recovery image on it and you're ready to reinstall SteamOS. If you aren't comfortable doing something like this, maybe find a friend that has already done so, or is more comfortable doing stuff like this. Like I mentioned earlier, I broke a Steam Deck, and I'm having to RMA it because I was not careful. And I would say that I have the confidence and know-how to do something like this. I recommend doing this mod, but trauma prevents me from saying everyone should do it. The Steam Deck has great speakers, better than I thought they would be really, but what if you want to be more quiet, or you want to be a little more immersed in your game? Check out these wireless earbuds from Soundcore. The Soundcore VR-P10 wireless gaming earbuds, as the naming suggests, are actually for VR headsets. I use them specifically for the Meta Quest 2, but they work great for the Steam Deck because the wireless dongle uses USB-C. If a game or video isn't synced up with the audio, it totally ruins the experience for me. But these don't have that issue if you use the dongle. They are a bit bass heavy even if you use the reduced bass EQ profile, but if you enjoy bass, you might actually really like these. They can also connect to another device via Bluetooth at the same time as the dongle, so you can run something like Discord and talk with your friends, or answer calls with your phone. They aren't as nice as, say, the AirPod Pros, but they get the job done. Big thanks to my mom for buying these for me for Christmas. Last but not least, let's talk about one of my most recent purchases that I actually use with my Steam machine that I built a few months ago. I was having some issues with connecting Bluetooth controllers to my Steam machine, so I decided to go ahead and pick up a controller that I've been wanting for a while. This is the 8BitDo Ultimate Wireless Controller with charging dock. This controller helped me get around the issues I was having while also being extremely convenient due to its design. I love that the wireless dongle stays inside the dock, and once you remove the controller from the dock, it connects automatically. Ergonomically, it doesn't feel like an Xbox controller, but it does feel great once you get used to the grip style. The joysticks and face buttons all feel great. I think the only things that I don't like are the shoulder buttons, which are quite a bit too tactile compared to what I'm used to with an Xbox controller. And my controller has this issue where when you push up on the D-pad, it makes this loud squeak. I did look this up, and it seems that this is not an isolated issue. Many people have suggested finding a way to mod it or grease it in some way to make it stop. I assume that over time it will stop with enough playtime and wear on the controller, but this is a bit disappointing and quite jarring when it happens. If I didn't have my Steam machine and used my Steam Deck with a dock hooked up to my TV more often, this would be my controller of choice, even with its issues. There you go. There are all of my favorite accessories and mods that make my ultimate Steam Deck. What is your favorite thing on the list? And if I didn't include your favorite item, what is it? Leave all that down in the comments below. If you'd like to watch my last video where I built my own Steam machine, you can check that video out here. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good week.